Hello there. You know who's got 2 thumbs and loves mythology? This guy! Also, Suzanne Collins, notable author of the Hunger Games franchise. And what did I have the absolute pleasure of reading these past few days is the new Hunger Games book, Sunrise on the Reaping. If you, for some reason, have never heard of Hunger Games, why are you here? Also, hello. You should read The Hunger Games. Anyway, Hunger Games is just an incredible franchise. If you couldn't tell by, everything about me, I love The Hunger Games. This is one of my favorite series ever. Actually, prior to planning out this little video, it is the only book that I've ever successfully reread in my life. Because I'm known to hyperfixate on things, back in the day in 2013, I read Hunger Games for school, and I really liked it. And then I read Catching Fire in a day. And then the next day I read Mockingjay in a day. And then the next day I read Hunger Games again. And then the next day I read Catching Fire again. And then after that, I was borrowing these books from someone and they said, "You've had enough." Which, fair, but also, fuck you, I'm an adult, I can do what I want. And I reread all of the books in the past 3 days. You can't stop me because they're mine now. Anyway, now rereading these books, I just noticed a huge amount of little tidbits, little references thrown in there to Greco-Roman mythology. So, what do I do in cases like this? I obsessively hunt them all down, like an absolute maniac. And when I say there are a lot of references in these books, I'm not joking. There's a lot of them. All right, let's get rocking and rolling, people. First up, a few things that I want to say before we get started. Most of these are either based on Greek mythology or Roman history or literature. Now, I would like to say that I'm pretty knowledgeable in Greek mythology. Some of you might think otherwise. That's fine. Greek mythology, I'm pretty good at recognizing. As for the Roman aspect of this, mostly just Google. I'm gonna be real. Google and Wikipedia. The Roman Empire is not my Roman Empire, I have seen Gladiator 2. That's about it. That's about as much as I know about the Roman Empire. Anyway, there's a good amount of both of these in there. And whenever possible, I will be trying to distinguish between the two of them. There are a lot of overlaps between them. However, they are separate ideologies, theologies, and y'all are the kind of people who care about that thing. So, I'm doing this for you. Next up, the things that I wanted to focus on here are pretty much objective facts or highly reputable arguments in the case of these references. You could make a lot of leaps and bounds in any sort of literature. I'm not out here trying to write the fucking English essay of the year, okay? I'm not trying to dig up symbolism where there isn't any. I'm focusing on the very obvious stuff here. You could dig a little deeper into these and try to make, wide splaying connections. You could connect the idea of PETA burning the bread and giving it to Katniss and then being punished for it. And then Katniss, after that, as a young child, starving and alone, finding the will to live again and hunt and save her family. You could liken that to Prometheus, the god of foresight, giving the gift of fire to the humans and then being eternally punished by Zeus for it. You could say that. I'm not going to say that because that's really reaching. However, I didn't think of that all on my own, and I thought it was pretty good. So it's going to go in there anyway. Also, this starts out as highly objective. It might devolve a little bit, I'm not going to lie. While I did reread the main trilogy, I did not reread Ballad because I read that a year and a half ago. And it's a long book. I also did not reread Sunrise because, again, I read that a week ago. I can only handle so much. I know where my limits are and I have to stop somewhere. Anyway, the later novels, I might be stretching a little bit. Next up, spoilers, obviously. Now, I will be separating each of these into sections by the book, so if you don't want to know about, the new books, don't watch that part. Otherwise, I will be going over some basic plot points in the books, not really doing a summary, but hey, you might learn a thing or two. Finally, while I did say this is every reference, I tried my best. I don't know everything, and also, I am very, very tired. I finished Mockingjay at 5 a.m. It is currently 8:30 a.m. I am very tired. I might have missed some things, and I might also sound a little stupid. Also, if I look like shit, it's because I'm tired. But I also look like shit. Anyway, if I did miss anything major, please let me know. Kindly. Huge shout out to the Hunger Games Wikipedia pages. Those are great. A lot of it was also gathered from them because they just know their shit. I might be making leaps and bounds here, but they really honed in a lot of stuff for me and made it much easier. So Good work over there, guys. Lastly, one other thing I want to mention is a little bit about Peeta Mellark. In my last video, I had made the statement that Sam the Onion Man is the best male love interest in any media that I've ever seen, and everyone else is just far below him. Someone in the comments kindly pointed out that they love Peeta Mellark. Now, me having not read these books since like 2013, I was like, yeah, Peeta's fine. He's a good guy, but he's no Sam the Onion Man. However, after rereading these books, you were 100% right. While I don't think that Peeta is better than Sam the Onion Man, Sam the Onion Man still reigns supreme in my book, Peeta Mellark is pretty fucking close. I would say well above Will Turner or Wesley from The Princess Bride. I would say slightly below Sam the Onion Man, but my God, is Peeta Mellark such a good character. What an incredible guy. First time I read these, I really didn't care much about Peeta or Gale, for obvious reasons. However, rereading them, Peeta is just so great. Gale's so whiny too. I liked him less on the second read through of Mockingjay. However, Peeta, just a little cinnamon roll of a boy. I love him. Also, Josh Hutcherson, huge LGBTQ advocate since before 2015, which back then, less cool to be one. However, our boy Peeta never lets us down. He's out here for equality, and I love him for it. Now, onto the games. For the Hunger Games, it is no secret that the story is mostly based on the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. If you don't know this myth, basically, King Minos, real bad guy, is looking for revenge on the city of Athens. In order to get his revenge, he demands a yearly sacrifice of 7 men and 7 women be given to him to be put into a labyrinth created under his palace that holds his son, Asterius, the Minotaur, or the Bull of Minos. This is on the island of Crete, by the way. Our main hero over here, Theseus, he is the Prince of Athens, ever so kindly and selflessly volunteers to go in the place of one of these tributes to go and try to defeat the bull. Now, once Theseus arrives, he is aided by the help of the absolutely lovely Ariadne, who is also in love with him. And through the power of love, he is able to win the battle against the Minotaur and escape the maze. Mostly through Ariadne's hard work. Theseus, kind of a dumbass. Ariadne did all the hard work. Just saying. I am biased, but the guy's an asshole. In his very prideful return to Athens, Theseus forgot to change the color of the sail like he said he would to his papa before leaving. His dad, seeing the white or the black sail, I don't remember. It's this one. Presumed his son to be dead because that was the code they had set up before. Theseus forgot about it, and so the dad saw it and threw himself off a cliff because he was so upset. Did Theseus accidentally kill his dad? Yes. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen in these books because Katniss's dad is already dead. Too bad she doesn't have anyone else in the world that she loves. Right? Now, on to Katniss, our main protagonist. Far better than Theseus, I might add. Katniss is just so heavily Artemis-coded, there's like no way around it. Not only is she just like an incredible girl boss archer, I mean that in the most positive way. Similarly to Artemis, she is just like a huge social outcast. Katniss does not have any friends. She talks to like 3 people in the world, and only 2 of them talk back to her. And Artemis notoriously loves to run around the woods with her pack of wild lesbians, not talking to anyone else on Olympus because they're assholes. Later in the games, once she becomes the symbol of the Mockingjay, the symbol of the revolution, she is just like worshipped by the rebels and the common people. Artemis here, obviously she's a god, she's obviously worshipped by civilians. However, one of the most notorious 7 wonders of the ancient world is the Temple of Artemis. It might also be the only one that's left standing intact. I love the 7 wonders of the ancient world. My God, every few years I get really into them and I just get so bummed that I can't see the Colossus of Rhodes. Anyway, I love big statues. The ones in Lord of the Rings, the ones in Game of Thrones, get me every time. I love a big guy. Anyway, Artemis, also very well known for her healing abilities. Katniss, now, while she self-proclaims to be a notoriously bad healer, she is constantly healing people throughout the books. Artemis over here, very well known for being one of the few virginal goddesses who never married or really took suitors. Katniss over here, while she is the center of a love triangle, she does have the reputation of being very pure, but not in like the gross way that people usually refer to that. Especially in Catching Fire, you see this. All of the other tributes are going up to her and just like flirting with her. You have, Chaff kissing her. You have Finnick whispering seductively in her ear. And of course, you got the crazed bitch herself, Joanna Mason. God, I love her. Anyway, they all just like bully the shit out of Katniss for being like very pure and innocent. She's also, again, supposed to be a child. 16 to 17-year-old. That's a minor, and not the sort of minor that they have in District 12. Now, lastly, Artemis is also known for being a protector of the young. She's also like the goddess of like, the hunt, but the protector of the young part, I think, really connects with Katniss. The entire concept of these books is because Katniss here volunteers to save her little baby sister from televised death tournament. Also, within that very first book, within the first games, Katniss, of course, allies with Rue, little baby girl who just reminds her so much of her sister and tries to protect her at all cost. It works out great for everyone. Don't worry about it. No one dies in these books. You don't need to worry about it. Now, next up, the capital is heavily implied to be ancient Rome. First off, it's like the center of the known universe. Here, we only have Panem, and the capital is the capital. Also, both these cities synonymous with their big ol' arenas and killing games that they like to put on, Well, Colosseum. I've seen Gladiator 2, and only Gladiator 2. I know what goes on there. Also, within the capital, within the Roman Empire, there's just obscene amounts of opulence and wealth. Also, something I might add with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, in both of these, while they are known for the opulence and wealth, there's also that facade that they're putting on where people are actually like suffering behind it, even though they appear wealthy. Like good old Corio. Corio the Oreo. Put some holes in him. Oreo? Cheerios. I was thinking of Cheerios. I had 2 hours of sleep in the past day. I was thinking of Cheerios. Anyway, on top of that, ancient Rome is known for just like conquering everyone and everything and just leaving its subjugates just absolutely devastated. They are not good landlords, that's what I'm saying. There is just like a super heavy Roman influence on the names of everyone who comes from the capital. Now, within the 12 districts of Panem, the capital has like the most heavy Roman influence. And then going off of that, since the career districts, which are 1, 2, and 4, especially 2, since they are the closest in with the capital, they're the little golden children. More of the characters that come from those districts have a Roman-centric name, whereas everyone else from the districts has a district-centric name. Does that make sense? Katniss is a root, Prim is a flower. They're from West Virginia, District 3, a lot of electric-centered names. You get the idea. On to the characters of the first Hunger Games book. First up, we have Caesar Flickerman and Claudius Templesmith. Now, Caesar, of course, that's what they called the Roman emperors, and Claudius, just a very common name within the Roman Empire. Also, fun fact that I learned from watching Tasting History is that apparently in like the ancient Roman dialect, the letter C was pronounced like the sound K that we have today. So instead of everyone being called Caesar, it was more likely to be spoken as Kaiser, which is where the German word comes from. Ain't that interesting? The things you'll learn, kids, by procrastinating on YouTube. Next up, we have the prep teams. Now, Venia and Octavia are both common Roman names, and Flavius is also most likely a direct reference to the Roman Emperor Titus Flavius Vespasianus. Even though I said I don't know that much about Roman history, I did actually read a book at the beginning of last year about this guy. More importantly, less about him, more about his like lifelong partner, if you will. Her name was Canis. She was like a enslaved woman who was then freed and essentially became the like common law wife of the emperor. It's a very good story called Course of Honor if you're interested. It was a good book. I liked it. Very confused about everything that's going on in Rome because, again, I don't know that much about it, but very interesting. I would recommend it if you like Roman history. Next up, Lenny Kravitz. I did not know that Lenny Kravitz was a famous person before I saw this movie. For many years, I only knew him as Cinna from the Hunger Games, and then after that realized that he had like an extensive music career. I don't care. He will forever be Cinna from the Hunger Games. He was great in this. Also, the Tooch. He just kills it in everything he's in. God, what a great guy. Anyway, back to Cinna. He was an advisor to Caesar Augustus, who was actually Caesar under the name Octavian. Another thing I don't get about Roman history is everyone has like 5 different names and then they're called something else when they're become the emperor. It's just very confusing. Anyway, he was an advisor and I believe a close personal friend to Octavian, and also tried to assassinate him. On a similar note, Portia, Pitta's stylist, she was also the second wife, I believe, of Marcus Brutus, notorious backstabber of his bestie boy JC, and I mean Julius Caesar, not the other one. Anyway, both of these two known for betrayal and assassination attempts. Next up, we have Atala. If you don't remember Atala, she was like the lady in charge of the training setup that they had for all the tributes. She was the one that was running that. Anyway, she was apparently jacked and hot. I might just be adding that part in. But anyway, this, I'm pretty sure, is just like clearly a reference to Atalanta, who's just a notorious badass buff warrior lady. Did she fight a boar at some point? Anyway, she's great. I love her. Also has a soccer team named after her. That's pretty rad. One of the few heroines in Greek mythology who is just as like brawny and aggressive as the men, instead of just being a tragic figure doomed to like a horrible fate because of the rampant misogyny. Anyway, Titus is briefly mentioned in the Hunger Games. He is one of the previous winners of the Hunger Games. I don't think he won. He was the one who ate someone in the arena. He is most likely a reference to Emperor Titus Caesar Vespasianus, who is this guy's son. He had 2 sons. One of them was good, I believe, and one of them was kind of a dick. I think this guy was the nice one. So it's nice that they named a cannibal after him. What a lovely ode. Last up, we have the basically villain of the first games, Cato. Cato is most likely named after Cato the Elder and or Cato the Younger. The Elder, he was a Roman general at some point, and then Cato the Younger was his like nepo baby great-grandson who was in the Senate, I believe. Now, I am focusing on the books here. However, in the movies, these are Cato and Cloves costumes for the opening ceremonies. These are just so heavily Greek/Roman flavored. They just have like a general gold centurion vibe. They have headpieces that is kind of reminiscent of Hermes or whatever his name is in Roman mythology. Also Hermes. I don't know. Anyway, great chance to talk about Alexander Ludwig. Cato! If y'all are interested in some Norse mythology, history, fiction, there's a show called Vikings. It's very good. Alexander Ludwig's in it. He plays Bjorn Ironsides, who was actually a real person, I believe. Anyway, the show's fucking wild. It's very good. It's very entertaining. Could not tell you what the plot is. It makes no sense, but the fight scenes are rad, and his mom is one of my favorite characters of anything ever. Her name is Lagertha. She is incredible. Now, as for specific references to tales or items or literature, what have you, from Greek and Roman society, first up, the tessera. These are individual tiles within a mosaic. You've all seen these little old flavored mosaics. These little squares here, those are the tessera. Within the Hunger Games, that is the specific food rations that you can take out in exchange for an extra name being put into the game's bowl. While I did say that I didn't want to make some like wild symbolistic analogies here, I do have some good ones that I came up with this. I did write these down myself. I'm just tired and I can't remember them. My first idea with the tesserae, it symbolizes how the people in the districts, they're essentially exchanging pieces of their life to become part of the capital's image, in which they are forced to play the games because they are basically sacrificing themselves in order to get some food. Now, the second idea, which I like a little more, kind of plays off of that. Each tesserae that is taken out by a person is another sacrifice that is added to the picture of the rebellion that's forming over the years. You know, All of the little pieces on their own, they don't mean anything, but when you put them all together, when you add up all the rebel forces, you create this beautiful picture that displays the truth of what's going on. It begins to form and take shape. Wow, good job me from whenever I wrote that. I don't think I explained that well. Next up, cornucopia. Cornucopia, this big old tube thing, is a symbol of abundance and nourishment within a lot of world history. Specifically in regards to Greek mythology. When Zeus is a little baby boy, after they fed Kronos the rock instead of him, he is given to a goat named Amalthea, and he's nursed from a goat. Anyway, when he grows up to be a little big and strong little boy, he accidentally breaks off Amalthea's horn, and that becomes the cornucopia. And it's also heavily associated with Demeter, who's of course the goddess of like the harvest and the seasons. Now, within the books, the cornucopia is the opening site of the game. It's filled with weapons and supplies that the tributes can use to keep themselves alive. However, much like Demeter herself, while she is known with life, she's also known with death. She brings on a harsh winter that destroys all the crops, destroys life, and creates havoc. Similarly, the cornucopia, while it can sustain life, of course, in order to sustain the life, you have to be taking the lives of others. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, a little double-edged horn, if you will. Last up, nightlock berries. These are the notorious berries that Katniss and Peeta almost take to kill themselves within the arena. They're the ones that kill Foxface. This is just a mashup of nightshade and hemlock. These are both two very notorious poisons that were used throughout Greek history and Greek mythology. Specifically, the nightshade is heavily associated with the cult of Dionysus, and it is in fact what Circe used on her island in some interpretations, poisoned Odysseus and his crew before turning them into pigs. As for the hemlock, this was a poison that was like actually used for executions in ancient times, most notorious for killing Socrates for quote-unquote corrupting the minds of the youths. That sounds like a rebellion to me, baby. Up next, Catching Fire, Book 2. Best book and also best movie. I don't know. I still haven't seen Mockingjay Part 1 or 2. I'm gonna watch those. Don't you worry about it. I'm on a kick. I can't be stopped. Anyway, first up is Coriolanus Snow. I will be talking a lot more about him later with Ballad, so we're just gonna hold on that one for a bit. Anyway, Coriolanus, asshole all the time. That's all you need to know, really. Next up, we have Seneca Crane, based off of Seneca the Younger, who was an advisor to Emperor Nero, and I believed they thought he was plotting an assassination against Nero, and he was forced to commit suicide. That sounds familiar. Now, Plutarch Havensby is based off of the Greek and Roman essayist and historian. By looking up a lot of these historical people, by that I mean looking at their Wikipedia page, a lot of them quote Plutarch as like one of the sources, as his works being the one that's written down. I think that goes in great with him being the games master, and also later on, and also earlier on, being sort of a documentarian, a propaganda man, if you will. I think that fits nicely. That's a nice little touch. Next up, Darius. If you don't remember Darius, he is one of the nice peacekeepers in 12. He's the one that tries to stop Gale from being whipped, fails, and then is turned into an Avox. Anyway, Darius is named after a Persian king who was very famously defeated at the Battle of Marathon. Romulus Thread. He's the new peacekeeper that was the asshole that was whipping Gale and really bringing down the metaphorical hammer on District 12. He is, of course, named after Romulus, one of the founders of Rome, the twin brother wolf titty suckers. That's him. Romulus, also the one who killed his brother. Kind of a dick move. Next up, Brutus, one of the past victors from District 2, I believe. Brutus, obviously a reference to Marcus Brutus, best friend of our man JC, and famously led the assassination against him. Kind of a dick. Now, lastly, we have Enoboria, who is Brutus's sister and fellow tribute from District 2. Now, I'm going to be real with you on this one. This is one of the ones that confused me the most, so I'm just going to read exactly what the Hunger Games wiki has for this. It says, Enoboria is the feminine form of Enobarbarus, who was a character in William Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra, based on the real ancient Roman general and politician Enobarbarus. All three of those spelt differently, by the way. Notably, he was pardoned by JC over here, similar to how Enoboria was presumably freed by the capital and then protected under the Mockingjay deal. That's a lot. Enoboria is fine. I don't like her. You know who I do like? Joanna. I love Joanna. I love mean women characters. They're so great. They're so much fun. Now, moving on from that, within the beginning of this book, there is a heavy allusion to the idea of a vomitorium. Within pop culture and some literature, the idea of a vomitorium is specifically a room where you would go at a party to barf, so that you could continue on eating the extravagant meal. Most notoriously tied with ancient Rome, this is just kind of like a myth that started in some literary works and then, worked its way down the pipeline. Still kind of prevalent today because people just keep on believing it. The actual word for vomitorium is like a large exit or spillway, often in like arenas or stadiums. It sounds like the word vomit. So people just associated it with barfing. Now, later in the book, Katniss has a dream about Darius, specifically about a lot of tongues, about Finnick being a little weird, and about President Snow. Within this nightmare, Katniss is just dreaming about reaching for water to drink because she's so thirsty, but every time she reaches down, the water recedes and she is unable to have any. This is absolutely just like the myth of Tantalus. If you don't know the myth of Tantalus, this guy named Tantalus, he killed his son and tried to feed him to the gods. I don't think any of the gods actually ate him. I think Demeter had a bite, but still pretty bad. Not a great host. But anyway, the punishment for that was he was forced into this little area where he was stuck between a pool of water and a hanging fruit tree. Every time he reached up for the fruit, it would just get a little bit higher so he could never reach it. And anytime he reached down to get the water would recede so he could never get a drink. So he was just, punished for eternity like that. Maybe we should not be killing our kids and then cooking them into pies. Just a thought.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man. They say who murdered 3.
Now, here's where my ideas sort of get stretched a little bit. However, I think this is a good one. District 13. I believe this is just a clear reference to Atlantis. Stay with me on this one. Now, within Greek mythology, Atlantis is a mythological civilization. I believe it's an island nation that's known for its navy, and this civilization is destroyed as a punishment by the gods. With both Atlantis and District 13, these are highly mythologized in the world. Again, Atlantis was actually, I think, first written down by Plato. It's not like a real place. It's not like Troy, but it's like, oh, the legends have it. It's like Camelot, kinda. Anyway, similarly with that District 13, while it was in fact a real place, there's the idea of having a hidden, thriving society that is separated from the rest of the world. Similarly, Atlantis is known for being like an underground utopia with very advanced weaponry, technology, advancements. Same thing with District 13. They live in a bunch of bunkers and they're known for making nukes. Now, as for character references within Mockingjay, first up we have Fulvia Cardew, a capital defectee that joined the rebellion. I read this book yesterday / this morning. I still don't really know what this character does. Anyway, original Fulvia was an aristocrat who was heavily involved in politics. I believe she was married to 3 separate, very important men, one of whom, and I believe last one, being Mark Antony. Cressida, one of the team members for the propaganda crew. Is this Natalie Dormer? I think this is Natalie Dormer. Anyway, she was a lover of Troilus during the Trojan War in Greek mythology. Things didn't go well for them. Also, Shakespeare wrote a play about them too. He really went through his own Greek mythology phase, if I do say so myself. Next up, Messala, who is one of the other crew members of the propaganda team, named after Marcus Valerius Messala Corvinus. who was a Roman general. I have nothing else to say about this. This is just what Wikipedia said. I'm very tired. I finished this PowerPoint an hour ago. Castor and Pollux, the two guys who ran the cameras for the propaganda team. They are, of course, twins from Greek mythology. Pollux here is the son of Zeus, and Castor here is the son of some mortal guy. Now, being the good brother he is, Pollux here wanted to share his immortality with his brother so that they could always be together. So as a result of this, the gods turned them into the constellation Gemini, the twins. Also, Pollux is the Avox who leads them in the sewers. Castor dies at some point. I reread this section like 4 times, could not find where he died. All they said was he was with them, and then eventually he was not with them. I don't know where that happened. I was mostly focused on Finnick. I love Finnick. My poor sweet boy. It never gets easier. Next up, Lavinia. We find out that Lavinia is the name of the Avox who first appeared in the original Hunger Games. She is the runaway from District 13 who was captured by the Capitol in front of Katniss and Gale, and then, was an Avox for Katniss during the first games. Now, Lavinia, also the name of the daughter of Titus Andronicus. Now, in this tale, Lavinia was assaulted by a group of men, and in order for them to not rat her out and expose them as being monsters, they cut out her tongue, and I believe they also cut off her hands. Very gruesome. However, she got him in the end. Hell yeah, bitch, let's go. Now, finally, we have Dr. Aurelius. Dr. Aurelius is the one that helps Katniss at the end when she is just having the worst time in her life. Everything gets worse constantly, but he is the doctor at the end who basically stands on trial in her support and says that she's like mentally unstable and should not be held responsible for killing Coin, and gets her off scot-free. And then she won't return his phone calls. Anyway, he's a reference to Marcus Aurelius, who was one of the last 5 good emperors of Rome. Look, all the Roman emperors sucked. However, there was a good bit of time where they had some nice emperors, specifically 5 in a row. He was the last one. After that, things went to shit again. Possibly the Roman Empire fell apart. I don't remember. Anyway, now, earlier in the book, when District 13 is bombed by the Capitol, Katniss goes out to see the damage to film a propaganda video, and she sees the area covered in pink and red roses. Now, President Snow, known for his white roses, this is, I believe, a direct reference to the tale of Aphrodite and Adonis. Basically, Aphrodite is just, like, absolutely smitten with this mortal man. He's super pretty. She tells him not to go hunt down, all the wild animals in the forest, because things will end badly for him. He's a hot idiot, so of course he hunts them down, and as a result, he is killed by a wild boar. Now, in different versions of the tale, it's unclear whether this was just a regular boar, whether the boar was sent by Artemis, or whether the boar was Ares in disguise because he was jealous. And then in the tale, either his blood or Aphrodite's blood lands on a white rose and stains it red. And that's the first red rose in the world. This is directly after the attack on District 13, as I mentioned. PETA had warned them on air about this attack, and as a result was beaten on camera, and his blood went everywhere, and Katniss saw it, and the blood, it stained the white roses red. I'm making these connections. These are good connections. I stand by that. All right, next up. I'm reaching a bit for this one. I'm not going to lie, but I love my boy Icarus. At the very end of Mockingjay, after some bombs go off, Katniss is a little bit set on fire, and she just has a dream. And in this dream, she just pictures her wings, her Mockingjay wings, being set ablaze and her falling into the ocean. I believe is a reference to Icarus. He flew too close to the sun. Katniss flew too close to her happy ending, and as a result was just drastically punished for it and could not have gotten off worse. Icarus, notoriously dead. He also had a bad time. I think this is a pretty good analogy. There wasn't a lot to go on with this book. This one was mostly wartime plotting. There's probably more. If I missed something, please let me know. But my God, my brain is fried.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere, but you can't catch me now.
Moving on to the tyrant himself, Coriolanus Snow, aka Corio the Oreo / Cheerio. Very much named after Nassus Marcus Coriolanus, who's this guy right here. Let me tell you about this guy. It's up for a little bit of debate whether he was an actual historical real person or whether he's more of like a mythological figure, not within mythology, but you know, like a made up person, you know what I mean. Anyway, he was the inspiration and the title character from Coriolanus by good old Willie Shakes. Now, in this play, he was a very successful Roman general who just showed the most disdain you've ever seen for the general populace. He hated those poor motherfuckers. Now, to quote Wikipedia, Coriolanus is openly contentious and says that the plebeians are not worthy of grain because of their lack of military service. That seems like a man who would run a show called The Hunger Games, don't you think? This is one of Shakespeare's later works. I think it was banned in like multiple countries throughout history because this guy over here, let me tell ya, a little bit of a fascist. There's just like a huge amount of fascist ideals in here, bred by the man himself. It fits the character. Anyway, big old douchebag. That being said, Donald Sutherland absolutely fucking killed it. He did such a good job in these movies. Now, in the Ballad movie, I have just seen so many people thirsting over young Coriolanus Snow. Look, the actor, sure, he's a handsome guy. However, might I point out, pro-fascist leader. If you just like the way this guy looks, that's fine. If you like the character, seek help. My God.
You have a little similarity. You guys kind of look alike a little bit.
We both kind of look neo-fascist at the moment.
Yeah, this is Daniel last night. This is...
Anyway, he does a really good job too. I'm not trying to dunk on him. You know who else does a good job? Hunter Schafer. I love Hunter Schafer. She was incredible. She was Tigress. I think she's great. Also, Rachel Ziegler. She was incredible in this. She was so good as Lucy Gray. Her songs are bangers. Her little southern accent was very cute. I liked it. Now, within Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, we have, of course, Sejanus Plinth. Our poor, poor, sweet Sejanus. Sejanus, historically, was a Praetorian guard for the Emperor Tiberius. I believe he was one of his childhood friends, maybe. He was also executed for treason. Interesting little point going off of that. Within the book, Strabo Plinth is the name of Sejanus' father. In actual real life, Strabo is the name of Sejanus' son. Next up, Arachne Crane. Now, Arachne in Greek mythology is a lady who insults Athena by saying that she's a better weaver than the goddess of weaving because of hubris. And as a result, she is turned into a spider. It happens. Now, within the book, Arachne is one of the mentors for the poor tributes, and she is the one that is like taunting a starving child with a sandwich, trying to get them to perform like a fucking little circus monkey. So the tribute stabs her in the neck with her own knife. That's great. That's a big win for hubris. Going off that, Casca Highbottom, Peter Dinklage. I love the guy. He is a reference to Publius Servilis Casca, who was actually the first senator, I believe, to stab Caesar.
We should totally just stab Caesar!
Volumina Gaul. A little bit confusing here. I think in real life, the name of Coriolanus's mother is Volumina. However, in the play Coriolanus, his sister is named Volumina and his mom is named something else. It's a little bit confusing. However, I like the idea of that being the mother's name because specifically with Volumina Gaul, Dr. Volumina Gaul, she is the one that like really amps up his sociopathic tendencies. She just turns him into a little monster. He was already a little monster. Let's be clear. She is just the one that encourages him. So I like the idea of her being his mother and like creating him. Next up, Agrippina Sickle. Now, within Roman history, there are a few Agrippinas. One of them being Agrippina the Younger is the mother of Emperor Nero, and Agrippina the Elder is the mother of Caligula, the guy who tried to promote his horse. That's the one. Clemencia Dovecote. While the Hunger Games Wikia says that Clemencia is a reference to Clementia, the Roman goddess of mercy, when I was reading this, I more of thought of Clytemnestra from Greek mythology. Now, Clytemnestra is, of course, the wife of Agamemnon. While he was away at war, Clytemnestra took a lover, and Clytemnestra got her lover to kill Agamemnon upon his return. And as a result of the murder and also of taking a lover, aka cheating on him, Clytemnestra's son then murdered her in an act of vengeance. I like this idea mostly because I thought of it. And also, Clemencia here was a notorious liar who cheated on the essay, and then Volumina fed her to some mutt snakes. I think the cheating goes hand in hand here. Anyway, Lysistrata. She was the partner of Corio, maybe, after the title character Lysistrata in the play Lysistrata. This is a comedy where this woman has had enough of the men taking too long in the Peloponnesian War, and she gets a bunch of ladies to agree to not have sex with any of them, basically, so they'll just like finish up and end the war, and they can all return on with their lives. That's hilarious. I think she's great. And guess what? There's even more characters. As this book is mostly centered around the capital, almost everyone has a Roman and or Greek centric name. I'm not going to go through all of them. Remember how I said this was every reference? I lied. I don't want to list all of them. A lot of them are just like general like Roman Latin words or references to, 30 different people. It doesn't really matter. However, there are some that I would like to point out because I think they're better references or they're to a specific person or deity. Anyway, speed round. Livia Cardu, another one of the students. That is the exact name of Augustus's wife, Augustus being the first emperor of Rome. Next up, Io. Notoriously became a cow after Zeus fucked her and Hera got mad. You hate to see it happen. Persephone Price. She's Persephone. We all know Persephone. Next up, Iphigenia Moss. And let me just tell you, you would have loved women's rights. Following that up, the twins, Apollo and Diana Rigg. Apollo being named after the fucking tool that is Apollo. Diana, of course, being a reference to the hit song from One Direction on their 2013 track, Midnight Memories, titled Diana. That's a fucking good song. That's a good song. Also, the Roman goddess Diana, who is like the counterpart of Artemis. Does anyone know why everyone changed their names except for Apollo? I could look that up, but I'm too tired. Someone please tell me. Y'all like the man. Anyway, Pliny Harrington, named after notable Roman author, naturalist, aka hippie and beer man, Pliny the Elder. Juno. Juno is the Roman equivalent of Hera, so she's queen of the gods, wife of Jupiter, aka Zeus, and she also hates her life. Yeah. Androcles. Androcles is based off of like an old folk tale. I don't know if it's Roman or Greek. I forgot. Basically about a guy who becomes stranded in a cave, finds a lion, takes a little thorn from its paw, and then they become best friends. And they also kind of join the circus. It reminded me a lot of Appa's Lost Days. Finally, we have Felix Ravenstill. In Roman mythology is a son of Saturn. Now, I don't know if he is actually a god or if the word Felix just means luck, but anyway, tied to the idea of luck. Felix didn't win, so obviously not that lucky. Anyway, I don't care to press the matter anymore. Now, remember when I said that my concrete evidence starts to break down a little bit? This is where it starts to break down. Most of the references within Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes are direct references to the characters, which I already explained a little bit. But beyond that, I don't remember any off the top of my head. Did not reread this. Anyway, for this, I want to focus on the ending of the book, specifically Coriolanus's little final boy transformation into just a total douchebag when he turns on Lucy Gray in the woods by the lake. Now, one of the ideas that I think could relate to this is the myth of Heracles and Megara. Heracles in Greek mythology, notorious buff man. He has a wife named Megara. He is also the son of Zeus. Hera is mad about this because of course she is. She drives him to insanity and he kills his wife and their children. Now, I think this could be a pretty good reflection of how towards the end of the book, Coriolanus kind of loses his last marble, just kind of goes off and tries to kill Lucy Gray because of an invisible threat that only he sees, you know? Similarly, you could take this as an interpretation of Orpheus and Eurydice. Similarly, in that story, Orpheus, he is in love with his muse, she dies, and he follows her to the underworld to get her back. This could be a representation of how During the games, Lucy Gray wins. However, she's returned to District 12, and then Corio follows her to District 12 to go be with her. However, now in the myth, Orpheus is basically corrupted by his need to check on her. He's told, don't check on her, and he does, and it kills her. Pretty much, she's already dead. Anyway, they're forever separated because he couldn't keep his cool. Coriolanus is similarly corrupted by the idea that he will be found out because he let slip that he killed 3 people, and Lucy Gray only knows about 2 people, and he's like, I killed myself. Duh! I had a transformation. Anyway, Lucy Gray puts it together because she ain't no dummy, and she realizes that he turned in St. Jonas, and in order to cover his tracks and tie up all the loose ends, he tries to kill her. Oh, it's not funny. I'm just very tired. Anyway, I think this is an analogy that could be made. Is it a little bit of a stretch? Yes. Also, these 2 stories are kind of seen as tragedies. I think that's giving Coriolanus a lot of credit. I think he's a big piece of shit. However, you could take that idea into consideration. However, the one idea that I particularly like, that I thought of the first time reading this, is the idea that Lucy Gray was like a siren the whole time. Obviously not, but hear me out on this one. So Lucy Gray, notorious singer, she's known for being a little songbird, you know, songbirds and snakes. She's the songbird, he's the snake. It's a tale as old as time. Sirens, in Greek mythology, they're either kind of mermaid people or sometimes bird women who lure men to their deaths, singing to them and killing them. Now, in regards to Coriolanus, I think that this could be a great idea because towards the end of the book, when he starts to turn on Lucy Gray, he is thinking back on all of their memories together, and he starts to think about, like, maybe she's been tricking me this whole time. Maybe when she showed me kindness, like, that was all a trick. That was part of her play. She's been plotting this the entire time. I thought it was a great little, like, idea to be planted, because when I was reading that, I was like, oh, maybe she was trying to trick him the whole time. She wasn't. She's just a girl. I do like that idea. I thought it was a good one. I came up with it at 5 a.m.
Oh, nothing you can take was ever worth keeping.
Now, last book in the series, the newest one to come out, Sunrise on the Reaping, all about our boy, Hamish Abernathy, and just the awful time he had in the 50th Quarter Quill. Now, first up, Drusilla, his handler. Now, Drusilla in real life was the sister of Caligula, and upon her death, I believe, was deified as Diva Drusilla. She's a bit of a diva. I just thought that was funny. All right, next up, we have Faustina Gripper. Faustina is the name of the mother and also the sister of Marcus Aurelius. These are 2 different people. His mom and his sister were both separately named Faustina. He did not date his sister. Yeah. I hope not, at least. Anyway, Insatius Lumi. That is the name of Caligula's horse that he tried to promote to the Senate. What a guy. Prosperina Trinket. Effie Trinket's younger sister who was part of Hamish's prep team. Prosperina is the Roman goddess of the underworld. Her Greek counterpart is Persephone. Next up, Alpheus. I believe he's one of the tributes. Alpheus is also the name of the god of the Alpheus River in Greek mythology. Not specifically like a god, but like a deity, kind of like how Styx is a deity and Scamander is a deity. So that's the deity of the Alpheus River. Next up, Janus, another one of the tributes. Janus is the Roman god of beginnings, gates, transitions, times, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. I believe there's no Greek counterpart to him. This is too many things. Decide on one. Lastly, I would like to point out Dio and Atreide. These are 2 of the tributes, I believe, from District 3 and District 6. When I saw these, this gave me the idea for this entire concept. All right. Dio, I immediately was like, that's Diomedes, the hero of the Trojan War. And Atreide, that's a reference to Atreus, who is the father of Menelaus and Agamemnon, and whose children are all known as Atreides. And anyone with the surname Atreides is therefore related to Agamemnon and Menelaus. Most notably, our favorite little space fascist, Paul Atreides of the Dune series, most likely related to them. Now, after looking this up on the wonderful fan wiki page, I was real wrong about this. Dio is most likely a reference to diode, as in LEDs, light-emitting diodes, and Atreide is more like a tread, like on transportation vehicles. However, I was real wrong about this, but I like the idea it gave me. This has been fun. I've had a nice time. Now, for the references within Sunrise, we have the hedge maze. I believe this is a reference to the labyrinth in the original Theseus and the Minotaur. Why is that? Because it's in the arena. It's the labyrinth. This whole thing is the labyrinth. And specifically in reference to this maze, every tribute who comes in contact with it, except for our hero, that being Haymitch, dies. We see Maisley enter it, she dies. When Haymitch exits the maze, there's a group of careers waiting for him, being Panache and two other people. They all die after seeing the maze. Now, finally, once Haymitch does face off against Silka, the last remaining opponent, he is outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, and outplanned. However, using the labyrinth and his little trickery, he is able to defeat the final monster and able to escape the labyrinth of the maze, the games, and the capital. But that's what the capital just wants you to think. As soon as he gets home, he just has the worst time of his life. Worse than the games. He just has to watch everyone around him who he loves dies. Now, specifically, this reminded me of the trope of like the tragic lovers within Greek mythology, within a lot of mythology, or literature anyway. But this was really like the fate of Haymitch and Lenore Dove, the Covey girl, his girlfriend. Specifically, it made me think of Apollo and Hyacinthus, how Apollo, threw the discus, but unintentionally it hit his lover and killed him. Reminds me of the fate of these two, where Haymitch accidentally, completely unintentionally, fed her candy that was placed there by President Snow in order to, torture him and ruin his life. And as a result, he killed his love. How sad. Anyway, that's all of the references that I can think of in all of these books. I'm sure there are more. Again, let me know if you think of any. However, I would like to just conclude with this one final thought for you. I love Suzanne. I think she's great. She is incredible. She has just such a wonderful gift for writing. And instead of flaunting her fame and success, she just goes into her little writing cave, works up a banger, releases it, and then goes back into hiding for another few years and keeps on delivering. Instead of, other authors who are just notorious assholes and choose to be bigots with their time. Not Suzanne. Suzanne's one for the people. Also, just writes scathing socio-political commentary and also dunking on AI. I love to see it. Let me tell you, back in the day, I could pull off a sick Katniss braid. I don't have the hair for it now, but I could. I'm very good at braiding. Big hubris. Anyway, that's all I had. I gotta get going. I'm very tired. And I have some unwanted guests in my house. Can you guess what they are this time? That's right. It's ants. All right. Bye. You didn't think this was going to be a video about One Direction, but it is. It always is.